Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Rocket Monday, we're going to talk about space updates. A lot of small things have happened, so let's count them all. Well, the biggest new news is NS19, meaning Blue Origin's new Shepard third paid mission, meaning they had 4 paying customers. There were 2 other customers which were like carried by Blue Origin, but like 4 were paying. Now, what does that mean? That simply means their ROI has started, meaning a return on investment. Now, at this point in time, many Tom, Dick and Harry saying like it's too expensive. Compare this to SpaceX flight. Of course it is, like how many hours you are spending versus how many seconds you are spending here. Of course, tangibly, fundamentally, this is much more expensive, but you have to understand, whenever you are thinking about a project and you're like, okay, how much it's supposed to cost, you also have to understand cost itself is one thing, the R&D you put into it is also another thing. For example, Blue Origin has been working for years and they have not made a single amount of profit, single rupee in profit. So reality is they have to recoup all that years of basically paying salaries, quote unquote. So yes, this system, this launches are expensive because there are 2 reasons. First, they have to recover their investments, and they're the only one because they have proven real world high cadence. For example, even in SpaceX, they have multiple rockets, they have multiple launches. They cannot do inspiration like mission again and again and again. So reality is fundamentally this is the only company that's like, if you start to book your ride today, there's a good chance you can go tomorrow. So reality is helping them, and flat out compare this to Virgin Galactic. Beat them to the punch, but reality was they did not cross the carbon line, which is very important for people who are spending boatload of money. It's like, dude, I want to be like, okay, this puppy is like 20 million versus 100k or 200k. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna willing to spend 20 million just to make sure that I'm an actual quote unquote astronaut. Again, it's semantics, but it does matter to those people. So it's fundamentally ahead of Virgin Galactic, and given the fact that Virgin Galactic, even though they launched before, they have not done any secondary mission, and there's a very good chance it might take almost August to December of next year, meaning 2022, before they have another launch. So reality is like Virgin Galactic almost did what we call a sprint run, where it's like, just do whatever you do, you do one launch, do whatever you do, just get that one launch. Because I'm pretty sure if they had any spies working as espionage, they would have figured it out. It's like Blue Origin, once they start, they will not have any slowdown time. So think of it this way: if Blue Origin would have started launching the system before Virgin Galactic, nobody would pay attention to Virgin Galactic, because by that time Virgin Galactic would do their first mission, Blue Origin would already do second mission, and that point people will be like, do you remember, Virgin Galactic, it will be buried inside the launches, so they wanted to do it, rushed it. But right now they cannot keep doing it. That's what the whole point. High cadence is very difficult to prove, very difficult to achieve, and they have achieved it. And it's much easier than SpaceX, because even though there are many people who can afford the bit higher price of SpaceX, they have the issues of that. The moment you go to this sort of billionaires and be like, you know what, you have to spend 2 months in training, they're like, yeah, no thanks, no thanks. So that's another aspect that you have to consider. It's like not everybody who has that kind of boatload of money also have truckload of time. So this is one thing that you have to understand. And all things considered, all the 3 companies that started to make claims, only Blue Origin is the one that is like, least amount of training, least amount of money, as in like, and they can actually carry you to space and be like, done, take it, go, enjoy, have fun, come back, done. So that's why this is a very important mission. And if they keep continuing this pace, and let's say they do 6 missions next year, they're gonna start to make some serious amount of money. Now let's come to another aspect still related to Blue Origin, is that ULA is now in trouble. Now you have to understand, ULA is a big puppy. Meaning, how big puppy? Well, this is 60% of US military contract is assigned to them, and that's a boatload of money that is coming in a trucks. So that's a serious amount of contract. Now be very mindful. You'll be like, okay, it's 60%. What happened to 40%? 40% went to SpaceX. Now SpaceX, being SpaceX, they sued the army. Now again, it's a common thing. It happens because SpaceX was like, why are you asking us to make a bigger fairing? Now again, government was like, dude, I am the one making the satellites, I will decide what kind of fairing I want. Simply make a please make a bigger fairing. And you have to understand, SpaceX is very tight on money, because while they are making money, they are burning twice as fast, meaning 100 million in, 110 million out. So that's why they are really not in a very good financial status. And Elon Musk really want to put every single dime he can to Starship development, not to do anything with basically Falcon 9 in his eyes. And again, from a practical point of view, Falcon 9 is complete. It is a human rated system. It can send astronauts to orbit, it can send astronauts to ISS. It's done everything it's supposed to do. It was designed to do it, did it. So everything is like, they now pouring more money into it is not desirable from a company point of view, but they have to do that to maintain that 40% contract hold. And there is another aspect of it. This is not acceptable for military satellites, especially military optical spy satellites. They do not like this. There's like, nope. The moment you say, oh, we're gonna attach like this, now you're like, why the heck SpaceX attach like this? It's cheaper. Now if you attach like this, you go like this, yeah, no, that's just like no. So they also have to figure out vertical stacking. If you pay attention to any like Ariane launch vehicles, ULA launch vehicles, Atlas rockets, they always have like this huge building. Why? Because stacking is done on the rocket. So meaning all these spy satellites, basically high caliber optical systems or whatever have you, generally they are built, once they are built, they will be like straight, and the end, you will never tilt it again. Like it has to be straight. So you cannot do this tilting. Yeah, no, flat out no. So that also means they also now have to develop completely different facility where they're gonna accept like satellite that is in completely this package, and then they have to plonk it down into the system. Yeah, that's gonna cost boatload of money. And what does that mean? That simply means by the time they have started to recoup the R&D money that went into making the fairing, the facility development which went into making the vertical stacking, all those will end up costing more or less same as ULA. Meaning from US Army's point of view, it's like, yeah, ULA cost us the same as SpaceX does. So that's why Elon Musk wanted to sue it, but he lost. The government is like, dude, it's our satellite. We're gonna decide how big of a fairing we want, and we want it like vertically stacked. If you don't, bye bye. So that's the one thing you have to deal with. However, there was another military hoo-ha into this, which was very simple. Thou shall not use Russian hoo-ha parts into this. You shall always use everything that is American made. Now, Atlas has been retired. The end, US military will no longer use it. Now, the deadline is 2023. So 1 year is left from when I'm making this video. So ULA started to make their Vulcan project. Everything is going fine. Vulcan is like, okay, we're gonna make the tanks, we're gonna pressure test it, we're gonna cryo test it. Everything is going fine, no issue. But there is a little bit of issue known as engines. They no longer have the engines. Blue Origin is ludicrously behind schedule. They were like, original date is still 2023, but the idea was they're gonna have multiple tests before 23, because US Army is like, hey, at least give us 2 tests before we approve you for actual flight missions. Now ULA, again, it's a big company, big reputable company, and if they are experimenting with new system, they would want multiple tests to be damn sure, because again, thou shall not mess up with a super expensive spy satellites. So they wanted to do that. They wanted to have like 3 or 4 launch systems. So even if something goes bad, it's not like, okay, we are stuck. We're like, okay, we have an issue, we're gonna sort it out. They no longer have that margin left. That margin is slowly being eroded, because Blue Origin is supposed to have delivered engines months ago, almost like a beginning of the year. They have not, and it's done at this point in time that the best case scenario is August 2022. That's dangerously close to 2023, and they have to do 2 launches. So they have to rush that first mission and hope everything goes well. Then they also have to rush the second mission and hope everything goes well. Then only they will be legally in the safe zone. So this is a very serious thing. And what happens if basically Blue Origin fails to deliver, which enough people are saying, yeah, it's going to be toast. So it could risk the contract. Now getting 60% absolute contract from US military, that's boatload of money. That's coming in trucks. Well, that's gonna go away. And because if you piss off something this caliber, you can be damn sure other contractors would be also be like, maybe I don't want to support you. So that's a serious issue. On top of that, it will also risk US military, because US military is not trolling SpaceX with like, hey dude, please make a bigger fairing. It's a real demand for them. They are not trolling us like, hey, you can't do like this to our satellites. Like, dude, it's a ludicrously complicated optically aligned systems. That shall not poke around it. So you have to understand this risk both of them. So Blue Origin, they really have to pull their system, and you may even see this sort of footage going around. The idea is these are what we call Pathfinder engines, meaning they are engines but they are not flight ready, meaning you can't run propellant through them. It will go boom. It's just there to like figure out the mating procedures and how the heck the weight is gonna be. They are like basically pseudo engines, quote unquote. So ULA is in serious trouble. They really have to rush it, and hope every Tom, Dick and Harry is hoping that they can get engines from Blue Origin much quicker, because they really do want to have like 2 or 3 testing before they're like, okay, we're gonna touch hyper expensive military satellites. Now ESA also made a different kind of announcement recently. Now be mindful, it is a paper announcement. Is that European Union has boatload of money. ESA also has truckload of money, but they do not have capability, meaning what they can actually do in space is really not that good. The only selling point is that their Ariane rocket can do really good geostationary launch, and not to mention they are really not cost competitive. The sole reason they are cost competitive, A, they are launching very close to the equator, and B, government subsidy. So that's really not a good system, especially when you have something like SpaceX barreling down at you. So that's a serious issue. On top of that, realistically speaking, they have realized the fact that they do not have any space program, meaning people cannot go to basically space system. Even though they are a major player in ISS, they don't really have that stake as you would think. So they have created a system. Their aim is now to have their own astronaut, meaning their own space human flight system. That's the aim, and the reason is very simple. They are falling behind countries like China and India. India is also gonna working on that, and there is a very good chance in next 2 3 years we're gonna have our own astronauts. So fundamentally think of it this way, like if that actually happens and you have nothing to replace it, it's like, oh, we are a bit behind schedule. No, you're literally behind schedule against India and China. Yeah, that's gonna sting. And the deal with Russia and USA, which was like their primary reason for not developing their system, because they had this idea is like, hey, if Russia has the capsule system, we're gonna just send our astronaut there. If America back then have space shuttle, we're gonna send there. Now that happened. That's a true thing that really happened. But here's the deal: one had only 3 seats, so only one seat was reserved for most of the time. Space shuttle, even though they had multiple seats, again NASA will prioritize their own projects there. So reality was that when you look at the whole picture, ISS, how many people have went into that? Very few people have went from European Union, and given the fact of population of European Union, given the fact that it has many countries in European Union, that's really not acceptable. You cannot genuinely say that there is only one person from United Kingdom that is an astronaut. That's just not acceptable. So this is a very serious reality at this point in time. Any child born in European Union, yeah, if they want to become astronaut, yeah, try to do something else. Heck, try to become a entrepreneur and make your own space company. That is more likely to succeed rather than trying to actually have a going through a government route. So they have really made a serious commitment here. However, all that being said, they really don't have any plan. So you have to understand this is like just paperwork at this point. This is like the paperwork has been signed, and I'm pretty sure by the beginning of next year, some engineers will be gathered, and it's like, okay, this is our budget, this is our timeline, go. So it will be interesting to see what does ESA does at this point in time, because this rocket is already outdated, and let's see what they can do. Another aspect is so small, very quiet, loud noise that happened, which Artemis. That is like Artemis is never gonna happen in 2024. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry who deals with any sort of projects on large scale will like, yeah, 4 years moon, no. Now, what NASA is doing is very subtle, very subtle. What they are doing is like pushing it to 2025. Once 2025 starts to approach, they will push it to 2026. Now, like, why go through all that trouble? Well, it's much, much more digestible to sell to Congress that you are just, it's taking a bit longer rather than we are behind schedule by 3 years. That's why they will keep pushing this number rather than like ever actually having, oh yeah, we are behind by like 5 years or 6 years. You have to understand that it's like one of them is very hard to swallow, quote unquote. So they have to do this, and reality is the main problem with moon project is, which was the main issue with Saturn V, it was not sustainable. And here is the same thing. More people are looking into it, like actually sitting down, actually looking into the project which NASA wants to do. Is like, dude, how high are you? Because it's flat out unsustainable. Flat out, they cannot sustain it. Meaning US budgeting issue, or remove that. Like whole GDP has to be poured into the NASA mission, then only they can support it. Flat out, it's unsustainable. For example, SLS, it's too goddamn expensive, like ludicrously expensive. And you may be like, a Starship, it still will take many years before it's actually human rated. I can expect them to finish up making a Starship by 2024, but getting it human rated under 2024, good luck with that. So reality is, from a cost point of view, it's too goddamn expensive, and you have to understand there is no actual plan of that. Apollo was a very short-sighted kind of project. It's like, go to the moon, beat the Soviet Union's, done, go home. Here, they are claiming big things. So like, we're going to go to the moon and we're going to stay. Okay, what does staying there means? No idea. Nobody has any idea. For example, they have Lunar Gateway. Now it's 100% useless. Why? Because you are building something that will cost more or less the same or higher than ISS. Okay, that's a boatload of money. And it's going to be inhabited, meaning nobody will be inside it for 11 months on a year. Is only going to be habited for 1 year. So basically you have a hyper giant expensive equipment that nobody is utilizing. Tell me how the heck that's sustainable. Tell me how the heck that's even sustainable. Because if you do not have people there, it's super easy for Congress to be like, how about you crash it? How about just let it go? Cut our losses. because there is nobody inside it. So fundamentally, there is no actual plan. Like any Tom Dick and Harry look is like, dude, you want us to spend boatload of money and build this giant useless craft which not gonna be inhabited. It's like, what's the point? Actually land on the moon, actually build something. They have no idea. Like there is nothing, no concrete plan. They just have a launch date after launch date after launch date. It's like, yeah, by 2030 we're gonna have people landing with rovers and all that. Like, to do what exactly? Like there is no, we're gonna do this, nothing. It's just like everything is in the air. And the claim of in-situ resource utilization is just a dream at this point in time. Because think of it this way, if you are actually targeting for 2025, you should have complete prototypes done at this point in time, which has been tested on the moon. Then you will send a bigger version or complete version of that with basically human ratings craft there. Basically we have more, it's easier to make oxygen on Mars because we have already sent Moxie there. We have already have real world data. It's like, how the heck you get oxygen on Mars? We got that is sorted versus like how to do anything on moon. So reality is, claims are awesome, but realistically, when you sit down, think from a financial point of view, it's not gonna happen. And what plans they have, put forward is like, what are you doing? Like genuinely, what are you doing that you want a government to spend a boatload of money to build a system which will now be useless 90% of its time? Please tell me again how the heck you're gonna sustain that. So reality is, Artemis is not looking good. The more people look into it, the more they're like, yeah, this is another Apollo project. Now, if you have paid attention to all over the world at this point in time, you have noticed there is a bit of rush, there is a bit of gold rush around space, and a lot of people are investing their money into it. And I'm talking from every walks of life, meaning from India to China to Nepal to Pakistan. Every country is spending their money like there is no tomorrow. Australia also. So lot of small players and lot of big players are going all in, meaning they're burning money like there is no tomorrow. For example, SpaceX, even though this company should be like completely in green, they are in very serious risk of bankruptcy. And again, they're not gonna go bankrupt, but it's like they're burning it that closely. It's like let's get it done. So why that's happening? Well, that rush is real at this point in time. Rush is absolutely real, and every player in this game is dealing with their own, be it Astra, be it Electron Lab, be it basically SpaceX, or be it NASA. They are all dealing with issues, whatever the issue may be. Some has issue with funding, some have issue with engine development, some have issues with contracting. All of them are dealing with issues, and even NASA is dealing with the fact that for all the hype, all the talk of we're gonna be sustainable, they literally ended up creating the same thing, Apollo mission basically, which they cannot sustain. Of course they're gonna launch SLS 1 or 2 times, but after that it's like, yeah, government is like, yeah, we can't afford it, nobody wants to do this, because it's like, if you want this project to run long term, like long term moon mission, you want it to be so cheap that it's like flies under the radar of basically cost cutting. And if you're like so expensive and you're like, yeah, we built hyper expensive things and it has nothing to show for it, 90% of that is empty, yeah, that's not gonna fly. So endgame at this point in time is no longer doing the biggest and boldest thing. NASA have already done that, but it's to make it sustainable, meaning can you financially make it viable? That's the whole achievement here. So you could literally have a scenario where a small company like Electron Lab actually pulls ahead because they are far more sustainable compared to other companies. Like go big, go home. Yeah, you will go home if you are bankrupt. So that's a serious issue. At this point in time, they really have to figure out cost, input, and gain. They really balance it out. They cannot be like, oh, it's a wartime wartime funding, they can go YOLO on it. It's like, yeah, SLS will be launched 1 or 2 times, but after that, even the senators who are supporting SLS, they will be like, yeah, sorry, we simply cannot do that. So rush is real, tension is absolutely real, and the risk that people are facing is tangible. So let's see what happens in the upcoming year. And be mindful, do not go for the biggest and boldest thing, go for the company that is making sustainable from a financial point. If they are sustainable from financial point, you can expect them to last much longer. So this was my presentation on space updates. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please hit the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.